Hello, hello. Thank you guys for joining today's webinar. Uh, I'm happy to be back with our usual stuff, like talking about campaign optimization, talking about strategies, talking about scaling, which is what we love to do. And you guys know from some of you that are attending know from our conversations. We have a super special guest this time, our dear friend and colleague, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of guys know Nadim already, but in order to make it better and to give more value and to share more value with you guys, we decided to okay, let's join forces and let's make something that will help you guys push forward and move things much better. Seems like there is an echo. Victor is saying. I hope it's not mine, even though I'm in a pretty echoless room. But I'll let Nadim take it from here. Nadim, please make a short intro and uh,
I hear. I don't hear an echo. Is what I was saying.
okay.
Blessed.
Okay,
So you're good. I can take it from here. Let me quickly set up the. All right. Is this okay?
amazing.
Yeah. Doing
Yeah,
this for the first time. If anybody doesn't see anything, just yell, and I'll get back to it. Guys, I'm Nadim. Joining Blessed and the Optimizer team today to talk about lead generation, specifically lead gen on native. A little bit about myself. I've been doing this for quite some time. I think. Here we go. 1 second. Thank you. The 5.5 years, I'm closing in on 6 as a native media buyer. Spent, I think I counted it the other day, it was between 125 and 130 million US dollars at this stage. It's been a lot of money in these 5.5 years. I co-founded and built a global leader in the native ad space, and I'm currently working and building up a team that whose aim is to really change the way brands advertise on native. I think native ads are still in their infancy, and there's a lot of potential left in this industry, where Facebook was, 10, 15 years ago in terms of maturity. And I'd like to help advertisers and brands really make use of it. My expertise is heavily focused around Taboola and Outbrain. Although a lot of what I'm talking about can be extended to different channels. It's just where I'm running, which is mainly Europe and the US. These are the two biggest native ad channels. What are native ads? I promise I'm not going to be spending a lot of time on the basics, but it's always good to touch upon this. Native ads are really these below article ads that look like organic pieces of content. Oftentimes they don't try to sell you something, but they try to sell you, an idea or present you a problem. You then click on it and read a journalistic style article. They're different than display ads in the sense that they don't sell. So if you look on the right, this is a German brand that's advertising and one of the big publishers. The ad there is very evidently an ad. They're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to package you anything. They're saying, look how cool our product is. Look at what we sell. Click here for $12.99. You can buy a t-shirt. On the native side, it's very different. You want to kind of ease people in. You have themes in the ads rather than products, or rather than trying to sell something. And then we'll walk through that in a second. But it's a very strong tool for native lead generation, or for lead generation overall, and produces some of the best quality. I think we did a test a while ago in terms of comparing one product's value per lead across multiple channels, and we found native leads to consistently be worth 20 to 50% more than leads generated on social for the same product and a similar price. What are the most common mistakes of native ads? And I'm assuming you have a little bit of experience on native. If not, after this webinar, go check out one of the many different videos out there. But native ads, I'm not going to go into the basics of how to optimize and media buy on Taboola or Outbrain today. I'm assuming that you have the basics covered and are looking on what to do to improve your funnels, or where to really start leveraging your product and generating leads on Taboola or Outbrain or different native channels. A lot of people use their search funnels or social funnels on native, and I can tell you why that doesn't work. You're reaching people in a really different environment. Native ads present an opportunity for you to reach a very broad audience, but the challenge is also that you don't have these hyper-tailored target audiences that you can reach with certain messaging. You kind of have to compete against everybody. I always call it, you're in one big room, and whoever yells the loudest will get the attention of the people that you're trying to reach, and of the people that you're not trying to reach, that are just happen to be there and listen to what you're saying. And so oftentimes native ads require a dedicated funnel, which we can go through in a second. But if you do it right, native ads can be the absolute backbone of your lead gen acquisition strategy. And we have a couple of cases of that later on in this, where larger spenders are really shifting a chunk of their budget, sometimes even more than 50% of what they're spending on different performance channels onto native ads, because the lead quality and scale is just immense. Secondly, for the affiliates out there, copying your competitors is just not going to work. I would say ripping is RIP. Like it doesn't work anymore, and I can tell you why. When you copy the ads of your competitors, you're competing against their dialed-in campaigns and their dialed-in product. So you're going to be automatically slotted if you have the same ad lower down in the feed. So the people that want the product are going to click on your competitors' ads, and the people that don't want the product and that have clicked on your competitors' ads and continue scrolling are going to click on your ads. So your lead quality and your click quality are going to be substantially worse, as is your ad CTR. It makes a lot of sense to be creative, and different networks like Taboola and Upgrade, they really reward you for being creative through higher CPMs and through really good value for your click. It's also very difficult to target your audience, so go broad. I see a lot of smaller businesses specifically saying, I want to target, women between 45 and 52. And I'm like, how are you going to achieve that? It makes much more sense to target women as a demographic rather than limiting yourself to, 3% of the population. You're going to take 50 and then filtering the people through content rather than the ad itself. Because on your landing page, you're not competing against anybody else other than your performance metrics. But on the ad, in order to get the high quality clicks, you need to make sure that you're achieving a CPM. I also see a CPM that's competitive. I also see a lot of people going in with smaller budgets. Doesn't work very well, especially in larger geos like the US and even some in Europe. I wouldn't recommend going below a 3-figure budget a day per device type that you're running on native. If you're going to go in with like 20 or 30 bucks, that might work in geos that are really cheap. But even then, you're just limiting yourself. You need to imagine you have 10 ads live, you have 300 publishers that you're getting clicks on or impressions on, and then you spend 20 bucks a day. You're not going to have any data to make any actionable decisions off of, and you're just really wasting your money. You're throwing things into a black box, and that's not what native is about. As a native media buyer, like I said, you have no targeting options, but this presents you an advantage. The beauty is within native that you're paying a CPM, my third point here, not a CPC. Even though you're bidding a CPC, in the networks, you're going to be in the auction competing on a CPM basis, which means that you as an advertiser have direct control over how you are displayed, whether you want to be more or less aggressive, and we can talk about that in a second. But at the end of the day, there isn't any real black box that stops you from solving a problem. If something doesn't work, it's very easy to identify which part of the funnel is the problem and then fix that problem in the funnel in order to be able to compete and continue spending money on native profitably. One thing to remember is that you are competing against everyone in the market. If you're selling solar panels in the UK, you're not just competing against other people selling solar panels. Of course, you're also competing against them, but you're selling against people selling other stuff. So it's really important that you, as an advertiser, get the benchmarks for the CPMs from your account manager and make sure that you're competitive when you enter the auction. Otherwise, you're just going to be spending a lot on a click that isn't valued at what you're getting. Generating leads on native. There are really 3 steps to keep in mind when we do native lead generation. You have the native ad, which we'll get more into in a second. You have the content page, your advertorial or pre-lander, and then you have the lead form itself. I'm going to kind of dive into each 3 of these segments and explain to you what you need to keep in mind when you're building your native ads, what to keep in mind when you're building your content pages, and how to build really strong lead forms that are straightforward and simple and convert to drive the value that you need as an advertiser to make money in 2023. Step number 1, the native ad. The real important thing, and I see my face is blocking the native ad. Sorry, thank you. Listen, I have no idea how to get away from this. I have my face blocking half of the screen, but it's fine. We're gonna make do. It's the dashboard. I don't know. It's fine. I'll manage. The native ads serves as a net. You're really kind of fishing in a pool of the audience for the right people. So if you can look at that CTR, the CPM formula on the bottom left, essentially you control your CPM through ad CTR and through your CPC. Ad CTR can be controlled by changing your headline, or your image. That's it. And we can get into details about descriptions and call to actions, but in its raw form, native ads have two elements. It's the image and the title. And those are your two levers as advertisers to really play around with your ad CTR. Your CPC is what you pay for a click. It makes sense that you don't want to spend $4 on a click in the US on desktop, because there's others buying those clicks for 30 cents because their ad CTR is better. It's also kind of counterproductive if you have a really aggressive ad CTR or ad headline that drives really high ad CTR but super irrelevant clicks. I always say if you have an ad CTR, ad headline, sorry, that says every American that clicks on this gets $100, and you're selling an insurance, you're going to get a lot of clicks, but you're not going to get any relevant clicks. People are going to read your article and be like, why are they selling me insurance? Where's my $100? And they're going to jump off. You'll have really cheap CPCs and terrible click quality in terms of landing page CTR and conversion rate. So these two elements are really your lever. The image serves as a stop sign. The best image for a native ad in the world would just be somebody with a stop sign. I'm not even joking, in the sense that they really catch your attention. Funnily enough, we've had a couple of cases where this has worked really well in driving a bad CTR. And then the second is the headline. When the people are scrolling the feed, either on their device or on their desktop, the image is what's going to get them to stop scrolling, and the ad headline is going to get them to click on the ad. So you want to make sure that your ad headline is relevant but broad enough so that you're capturing interesting people into your landing page. You're funneling interesting people onto your landing page, but not so broad that you get a bunch of people that you don't want or that aren't interested in your product. Second, I need to click. There we go. As an example, this headline here on the left that's targeting men over 50 is going to have a much lower ad CTR and therefore a lower CPM, and you'll have to counter that with a higher CPC, but you're going to be reaching men over 50. If you have it in your ad headline, chances are men in their 30s aren't going to click on your ad. If you have a less direct headline, so you essentially say thousands in this genius dental insurance, you're going to be getting men and women of all ages. Can you guys hear me? This is just, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you. I think you have a problem with headphones, right?
Literally, my headset just died.
Well, it's normal.
I need to go to settings. Give me 1 second. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep. I see some
comments. I don't hear you yet, but
I see the comments that are
1 second. I'm
confirming. We can hear you. We can hear you.
All right. If you can hear me, that's the most important thing. I don't hear anything, but it's typical when you need something to work, it doesn't. So obviously the lower ad CTR will have, or the more broad headline will have a much higher ad CTR, but a lower CPC, and therefore you're going to have less relevant clicks on your landing page, but therefore going to be paying less for a click. And I think it's important as advertisers to play around between these two scopes. So very targeted headlines, if you want to target a specific audience, try to put certain filters into your ad headline and your image to kind of capture their attention, but also play around with broader things. So think about how do you create a theme where you have people that are interested in dental insurance, or that fit a certain demographic that could be interested for your product, click on an ad. And we've had really, really crazy examples where we've been able to filter people that without mentioning the product, by just mentioning the problem. For example, thousands are affected by rising dentist prices. This is what you can do about it. We're not mentioning the product of dental insurance at all, but we're mentioning the solution or the problem, and then we're presenting them a solution in the content page. So, 1 second. The content page. I've been talking a lot about the advertorial. I think this is your single largest lever to reducing CPL and increasing lead quality. And we've done this. We've tested about 7,000 landing pages in the last 5.5 years on Taboola and Outbreak in different geos. Most of the time, we found a certain formula to work best. So when I have a lot of people coming in there and saying, Nadim, what if we tried something super crazy, or we tried a formula or an ad template, a template for a landing page, just completely different from what we're seeing out there. I say absolutely do it, but don't forget to keep the things that have been tried and tested in some sort of form in your campaign, because chances are the tried and tested landing page that looks very similar to what you tested before that worked
is going to work a lot better than something brand new and brand fresh. So we've seen about 300 to 600 words work the best. We've seen a increase in conversion rate by up to 40% by hosting your content on a neutral third-party page. So let's say you're selling, let's say, solar panels. Your store is called solarshoponline.com. You don't want to have your advertorial running on that same domain. You want to call it something different, homeownersdailyjournal.com, because that gives the people the impression that they're reading a neutral piece of content. It increases CTR and therefore increases users going to the lead funnel and conversion rate. Keep it really easy to read, make sure it loads fast. That's essentially it. We have a structure that I'm going to share with you right now, which works 9 out of 10 times. For the majority, especially within the lead gen space, the hurdle to capture that lead is relatively low. You're not asking people to commit a ton of money. You don't have $150 cost to consumer, that people have to pay with their credit card something. So the hurdle for them to get their information out is relatively low compared to e-commerce campaigns. So you want to make sure that you do the content, in the leanest way possible to generate that lead. And this is the structure. We essentially start with a catchy title, a catchy and a relevant image. So if this is a store about saving money with something like HelloFresh as an example, right? You're at the supermarket, you have a supermarket in the background and an old lady smiling. Perfect image for that, right? You introduce the problem, supermarket prices are rising. You introduce explain to the reader why this is relevant to them. You live in the UK, you live in the US, your supermarket prices have increased 63% over the last 5 years, but your salary has only gone up 4%. That doesn't seem fair, but we have a solution. Then you introduce them to the solution, which is obviously the next segue to introducing them to the problem, to the product. Sorry, you want to make sure that you give them some sort of fear of missing out. On native ads, you're reaching people at a random point in their day. They're not looking for a product, they're not looking for a solution. So you need to make sure that you give them a reason to take action today. Even with lead generation, right, which is just filling in the information, you want to make sure that you get the right data. It doesn't help you if you're generating leads, but 90% of them are fake leads because people don't feel compelled to give them the real data. So we often say things like, well, you can get a free consultation, or there's a 60% or 80% chance that you'll save 80% on this product if you use our service. It gives people an incentive to put their correct information because they want to receive the offer. We then bring it in with a call to action and the testimonials. And this layout on mobile, just kind of slot the testimonials underneath the content and the CTA. This layout has worked time and time again. One last tidbit of knowledge I'd like to give you guys here for the content page is the call to action. Play with CTAs. We've seen up to a doubling of landing page CTR by gamifying the call to action. So when you're ad spying, you'll often see like maps or different zip codes that people have to press in order to get through the landing page. And the reason for that is because when you give people the choice, and especially the choice of something that appeals to them or that makes them feel like they're getting something that's tailored to them, even if all of the call to actions link to the same offer page, it gives the perception of a unique choice, or at least something tailored towards the user that's reading it. And if you do that correctly, you can increase your ad CTR, your landing page CTR, and you can bring the users in more effectively through the content page. So that's it. Finally, I get this question a lot from consulting clients or clients that are struggling with content. So they say, my ad CTR is great, but my content page sucks. The landing page CTR is terrible. It's important to analyze how your ad headline in relation to your landing page should perform. So oftentimes you'll have multiple ads, and the ad with the highest CTR, the lowest relevance, the most broad ad, will oftentimes not have the best performance in conjunction with the landing page. So it's important to look at these things holistically, which is what we'll get into in a second with the tracker, and say, how does my ad CTR impact the CTR on my landing page? And oftentimes you'll have an inverse relationship between ad CTR and landing page CTR. So it's good to find a balance that is the most cost efficient to getting users through and converting. It's also important to split test different headlines. So obviously have really broad ad headlines running to a landing page that filters the users a bit more aggressively, and then have really direct ad headlines that are sent to the same landing page, and compare and see which approach is the most cost efficient for you. Typically, we see between 10 to 25% landing page CTR on different native channels for B2C, which I'm guessing most of you are, B2C products on native. Obviously, The US is a bit more competitive with higher CPCs, but we also see a lower landing page CTR in the US than we see in Europe. So typically Germany, for example, Germans love to click on things. And so 50% higher LP CTR is pretty normal in Germany compared to the US. When we launch a campaign, we'll typically have 3 to 4 different and unique landing page variations. So we're not going to run one landing page and change the header. We're going to have 4 different content pieces, and then we're going to start iterating based off of the learnings and the data that we see in our tracker and in the dashboard of the traffic source. So it's really important at the beginning to be quite aggressive. Don't feel like you have to rush this. Take your time, build proper content, put together 3 or 4 different ideas, and then upload them and see how they perform, learn from the data, and continue iterating. We've had clients that in their first month got 30 to 40 different landing pages before they found something that worked. We've had clients that were fine with 4 or 5 because we saw more success at the beginning and we're able to do less iteration to get to the results that we needed for profitability. Go. Sorry. The lead form. This is, in my opinion, a pretty easy step that a lot of people get wrong. The lead form is essentially just capturing the interest that people express by clicking through on your landing page as effectively as possible. Obviously, you'll have dropout rates. People don't want to give you their real name, email, address, whatever. But if you build the lead forms correctly, you should have a relatively high lead CT, like lead form conversion rate on the page itself. Depending on which sector, you'll have a couple of percent all the way up to like 10, 15, 20% for verticals that are easier or that you filter more in the landing page. The first question of these forms should be painfully easy. Do you live in country X? What type of house do you have? Like, I don't know, do you drive a car? It depends on what product, but this should be a really, are you a man, woman, or something else? This should be a really straightforward question. Even if that doesn't help you at all, you need to have a question that brings the users in. We've seen that by having a bait question at the beginning, even something as stupid as do you want to save money? Yes, no, right? If you have a bait question, you can increase the CTR, the conversion rate of the entire form by pulling users in effectively into their first question. You'll have the highest dropout rate on the first question and the very last question when you're asked for the name, telephone number, etc. Everything else you'll have smaller drop-offs as people kind of lose interest in the product. And then the last point, which I already kind of teasered, is ask for the contact information at the very, very last step. Our recommendation, don't bother building this yourself. There are a lot of tools out there. Our recommendation is HeyFlow. It's cost efficient, it's simple. I don't make any money off of this recommendation, but it's really good. And from one marketer to the next, check it out if you're building lead forms. So look. Remember we said just now they're meant to look simple? This is literally an example of it's translated. I think we had it in Spanish or French. The lead form we built in HeyFlow, where you had the first question, are you a tenant or an owner? That's a painfully simple question. A couple of questions in between. We had a fake loader that kind of gave the people the perception of, hey, we're looking for things that make sense for you. And then, hey, we give the people the sense that they're being rewarded with something. Hey, congratulations. Your house, in this case for a solar panel, your house could be eligible for huge savings on solar panels. Get a quote here. And this gives the people the perception and also an incentive to put in the correct data. Because if we are selling these leads to different lead buyers in France or Spain, and we have a really poor lead quality, our CPLs are going to go down, our margins are going to go down, and we're going to lose the buyer altogether. So with this structure, painfully simple page, hosted on a nice domain, questions, the first one that can be just as a bait question to bring people in, and then the other questions are kind of gradually asking the questions you need for the lead form, with a final page with a bunch of stuff that they have to fill out. This has been extremely useful, and we've been able to increase conversion rates on different products and in different sectors massively by simplifying the form and consolidating it into a tool, in this case HeyFlow, which just works. It flows fast, it looks good, and it's very simple to adjust. The success on lead generation in the native ad space is obviously dependent on the ad, the content page, and lead form. But what we've seen, especially in competitive markets like the US and Germany, the UK, is that analyzing and passing back lead quality metrics to your ad tracker has been a game changer for us. So most of the time, especially as a former affiliate, we think the lead is kind of where our job ends. And if you do that, most likely at some point, your clients are going to get better leads from other people that don't just see their job ending there. So we've been able to integrate with our ad tracker different quality metrics. So whether a lead has been sold, how much the lead has been sold for, whether a lead has been disqualified, whether a lead had an abnormally high or low value. These are data points that we're able to pass back to our ad tracker, and the ad tracker passes them on or matches them with different ads, different headlines, and different content pages. So we can see in our tracker, hey, even though MSN has the best lead price, Fox News, as an example, might have the highest lead quality, even though the CPLs are $5 higher per lead. At the end, the client is making more money with the site, and we can go to the client and say, well, listen, we're going to send you more of these high quality leads, but pay us more. And this creates an environment where you're running a much more sustainable lead gen form, and you're able to tweak and adjust your approach as market trends changes, as publishers change, as quality on publishers changes. You're able to match that very effectively, almost in real time, with content, ideas, ads, sites, etc. Doing this has really, I'll give you a couple of cases in a second, changed our effectiveness at optimizing native ads and lead gen funnels on native. These are a couple of cases. We have two cases, actually. One, which is a solar lead gen company we work with. We're doing about 450 leads a day. We have spending around 20 to 22K-ish, 20 to 25, I'd say, on average a day. We have improved lead quality dramatically. So since we've started analyzing the quality through our tracker, we've been able to increase lead quality as high as in some cases up to 100%, but I think the average is lower. And right now, compared to what they were doing before, 35% of their total lead generation volume, whether it's organic, SEO, social, search, etc., 35% of it comes from native ads. And we're able to be very competitive with our pricing and buy a large market share because of what I've been telling you here. The second case is a financial lead gen case, spending about 45K a day, or around 1,500 leads a day. This is obviously a dialed-in campaign. We've been able to increase lead quality by a whopping 150% since we started this, and it has been mainly credit, I would say, to optimizing every single step of the funnel. So we looked at what ads had an impact on quality, what content pieces had an impact on quality, where, so what sites we were running on that had an impact on quality in combination with the ad and the landing page, and then at the very end, optimizing their lead flows and even post-lead flows to make sure that they're able to effectively monetize the data that we're sending them. Right now, 65% of all leads that this company purchases and is able to buy on different online channels come from Taboola and Outbrain, and that's insane. That's a lot of dependency on two channels, or essentially one type of channel. Last but not least, the benefits of lead gen as a native, on native ads as a marketer, as a brand, or anything in between. With a tracker, with the help of a tracker, you're able to analyze what's not visible in the dashboard. If you go look at Taboola or look at Outbrain, you'll essentially see a very holistic overview of the data. And if you use a tracker, you're able to analyze the micro trends and see, okay, which elements in this data that I'm looking at are having what impact on revenue, on CPL, on quality, and you're able to tweak them. By controlling each element of the funnel, we're able to stay ahead of the curve, and we're able to run campaigns profitably 12 months a year. I could show you cases. I wish I didn't have NDAs signed sometimes, because I could share ad accounts where you're running ad spend monthly for years at the same level with very little fluctuation in lead quality or price, because we're constantly iterating in terms of, okay, well, how are we going to, I don't know, we're seeing conversion rate drop. How do we acquire clicks more cheaper? How do we optimize the lead flow, or how do we increase the revenue per lead more by working with a client to increase the speed at which they call the leads? How do we build better systems so that we get the feedback we need as marketers to quickly adjust our flows? And if you do this, if you build an ecosystem around native, you can run, like me, Taboola and Outbrain campaigns profitably for over half a decade at scale. My recommended sources, obviously, Taboola and Outbrain. We've seen quite a bit of success with MediaGo or Baidu. There are others out there like Yahoo that are in the process of being merged with Taboola, but that offer good quality. It really depends on the country that you're in. Every country has a different mix of traffic sources and publishers, but at the end of the day, if you follow these steps and if you really focus on optimizing each and every step of the funnel, you can have a lot of success and you can create very, very profitable campaigns on native ads. And that's it for me. I'm sorry that my sound cut out. I hope the sound was okay, but I've been Nadim Kitab, and I'm looking forward to fixing my sound while Lucid presents the next step and then jumping into the Q&A. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Nadim. It was really great, and all the amazing details. Anyone who wants to get in touch with Nadim before we move to the next step, since we have him here, just do a quick scan of the QR code or ping him on LinkedIn. You can find him on LinkedIn, and I guess you guys can take it from there together. Uh, I will quickly move forward with the rest, which is tracking and automation, which is quite important. And as Nadim mentioned, the tracking part is so crucial when it comes to managing or to kind of analyzing the data, that sometimes people not or people or most buyers end up on simplifying the tracker as something that is used to just track conversions as a postback system, rather than using it as a platform to analyze the statistics. So we know that the tracker market out there is pretty heavy, and there is a lot of players, but we need to focus on the main benefits, which is the user information, especially that non-identifying user information, which goes along with all the regulations and all the stuff. The importance of A/B testing, because many times we often miss the ability to look at the bigger picture, where we have the ability to control which landing pages, which offers, what amount of traffic, and what weight of traffic each of these receives, and so on and so forth. And besides that, we can handle all the conversion tracking, we can handle all the server-to-server conversion configurations, and most importantly, we are able to capture and to track all the neat details that Nadim mentioned earlier, like the lead quality, what was the order value of a specific user, what was the ongoing performance of a specific lead, and so on and so forth. So all this data can be stacked up and can be gathered on a tracker and allow us to quickly and easily understand and estimate the quality of a lead that we are collecting. As you know, our preferred tracker, as you already know, is ClickFair, and there is more than just it's our platform. It's more than just we have worked to build it. It's more than just that obvious stuff. There is huge potential with super advanced funnel tracking capabilities like no other tracker out there, and plus it has a built-in tag management functionality. Anyways, one of the most important stuff, and I would say like this picture kind of gives the best understanding of how the tracking works, or what the tracker is capable of. So as we can see here, we're able to track traffic from multiple ads, multiple campaigns, rotate 2 or more landing pages, and if we want to, we can route traffic to specific offers, or we can rotate specific offers behind a specific call to action. And putting all the elements of personalization and things like that, we're able to track everything and manage everything quite smoothly without losing control of the data, which is what we use to optimize our campaigns, or which is what we use to scale our campaigns. Moving forward is the automation stuff, and that's like my favorite topic to talk about. The automation is, I think, let me put it like this. We running 2 or 3 campaigns is an easy thing to do for a lot of guys, and a lot of the people that are present, that I can see some familiar faces from the people that are following the presentation. However, when we scale and when we launch more and more campaigns, and when we are more involved with funnel iteration, ad iterations, working on ads, working on the landing pages and everything like that, we often lose focus on the part of optimization that needs to be done on the buy side, that we kind of lose money there, or lose control on some stuff there. So the good thing that automation can help us is practically being able to automate most of the repetitive tasks, like blocking publishers, changing site bids, pausing or activating creatives, scaling campaigns, as well as sending us performance alerts, which is quite important. Like just by having an email that is getting to your phone or to your mailbox that's saying like, hey, we have a situation where it's not okay and you need to go and check manually, is far better than going and check manually every day, multiple times a day, things on your own. So to give you a few examples of rules, I just set up a few rules, and that we brainstormed together with Nadim in terms of like, okay, what are the best practices, how you follow them, and things like that. So we know that native has changed a lot recently, and we know that we have a moment now that we need to kind of follow along with the changes and ride with them. So one of the things that, or one of the mistakes that most people make, Nadim was sharing earlier in our internal conversation, was that people block publishers too aggressively, or they have the tendency to kind of go too aggressive in terms of optimization. And to answer that, like the best practice in general is to go by 3 or 4 times the payout or the CPA that you're optimizing your campaigns for. Look at the landing page CTR. If it's below, let's say, half of, it's less than half of what you're getting on the campaign average, and if you have no conversions, then you're good to block it. If not, let it run, or if you have a good landing page into it, let it run, because with time and with optimization, you will get to that point where you get far better results. Also, you will block sites based off conversions only. Like you spent 4 times the payout, you got no conversions, then you're good to go with blocking them. Then you can obviously play around with the beats, and that sometimes helps you with throttling what the algorithms are playing with. Like sometimes we can see smart beat going like as high as 3 times or sometimes more, depending on the likelihood of conversion of the visitor, or based on what their system is doing. And maybe we don't want to go there. So by lowering the bid, we're practically lowering the chances of the bid going beyond our target CPA. Again, here the algorithm or here it's taken into account the likelihood of conversion, which is quite important and quite an important element. Again, to follow the best practices of what the networks say and what their algorithms or how their systems behave better. Sometimes you don't simply need to block a publisher, or sometimes you better drop the bid, and you can drop the bid to the bare minimum or to the lowest possible in order to avoid the system to throttle your campaign and deal with delivery issues. So that has been something that I personally have been following recently, like the delivery issues, and practically like most of the time is the being too aggressive that is kind of backfiring and keeping us from actually getting the campaigns to scale. Next is the scaling, which is super important. Like a lot of time I see, and I've said this quite a lot, and I will still keep on saying this: don't fight the algorithm. Like go along with it, or ride along with it. Like most of the networks have some learning statuses that report. Like for instance, on Taboola we have like learning, scaling, and all the stuff. Like when the campaign exits the learning phase, you can scale more easily. So when you're at a situation where the campaign has exited the learning phase and it's running on norm, then you can scale quite steadily. Like you can go increase things by $20 if you are on the conservative part and you are afraid of things going out of control, which I haven't seen that happening. But again, if you want to be conservative, you can go and do increases of budgets on a percentage base. And if you would like to be more aggressive, I would go 100%, 200%, sometimes even more, or depending on the budget or the fat that the campaign has built for you. I would push the battle even more, because it can be scaled and it can bring you more profits in the long run, and in the short run as well. Last but not least are some of the rules regarding the alerts, and getting a step back. I'm talking about the situations where we have campaigns throttled with traffic, or we see campaigns going into expedited learning, not much traffic, struggling to scale, and struggling to spend the daily budget. What we can do here is that we can kind of monitor this and have an alert that comes to our mailbox. And the easiest thing would be, hey, we have a problem, like the campaign is not delivering, or the campaign, maybe the CTR or the VCPM is not good, or the VCTR is not good enough. We can kind of go and go into our campaigns, introduce new ads, and try to make iterations that will bring our VCTR, VCPM back to a norm where the campaign can start scaling and can start delivering traffic really good again. So these are pretty much some of the generic rules. Obviously, if you guys want to get on a one-on-one call, either with me or with my colleagues, or I guess even with Nadim, that you can get in touch with him through LinkedIn. We can get on separate calls, brainstorm on the automatic rules and potentials of how you can simplify, and not to simplify in a bad way, but to make your work less heavy, like less boring. Like we know that we end up getting bored quite a lot when doing repetitive stuff. We're not monkeys, so we're smart human beings. So let's try to enjoy our time and what we do the best way without having to become slaves behind the screen. And Nadim, if you have any comments or any suggestions before we move to the Q&A.
Sound is working? Everything good?
Yeah, it's working.
Thank God. All right. I mean, you've said it again, and I'll iterate it. I'll say it again. Don't fight the changes that these traffic sources make. I think Taboola and Outbrain are changing quite quickly in the last years, and you've seen different phases where one approach will work more than the other, and then swap back between what used to work 3 years ago and what's now working now again. What rules can do, or in general, what good media buying can do is or AI or anything really, it serves to simplify your daily tasks. I always measure my time invested into projects as the ROI. So I don't see it as ad spend that I put into a project, more how much time do I need to put in a project for how much money that comes out of the project. And this is just a way to increase that. That's the truth. If you're, you can make a lot of money doing everything manually. You can make a lot of money doing nothing manually. But it's really just a matter of your time. And some people are going to be better at media buying if they build a system around that supports them and that enables them to do more in a day. So anything that saves me time in a day, anything that helps me accelerate my optimization process, my watching of the campaigns is welcome. And each media buyer will develop a system. This is what Lucid also said. Don't copy these rules. Don't just go into your tool and one-to-one make these changes, but look at your use case and see, okay, what am I spending time on? What's driving money? What's just kind of monkey work? And how do I optimize my day so that I'm spending the least amount of time on things that don't make money, and the most amount of time thinking about ways to be creative. I think this is, I quickly commented this in the YouTube channel. Creativity is one of those things that on native cannot be understated. Part of our success has really been the fact that we take time to think about new ideas. So we're not just there smashing out landing pages or asking ChatGPT to write a landing page and then copy pasting it into a template and sending it live, but we're having discussions. We're thinking, okay, well, how do we take this product that has been milked for the last 15 years and make something different out of it? How do we build a funnel that's different and put it into a system that's optimized and well-oiled to continue scaling? And that's helped us spend tens of millions on Taboola every year. And Outbrain.
Awesome. Yeah, like all the iterations are part of the process, and like I'm seeing a few familiar faces that they can practically confirm what we're saying here quite easily. Let's go quickly over some of the questions. I know we're approaching the end of our schedule, so I want to make sure that we're tackling the questions first. So we have one from Marco asking about how Outbrain and Taboola are allowing promotion of financial services, which is something that many guys have a love and hate relationship.
Sorry, I was just quickly responding to a thing. Was that a question to me?
Yeah. So don't worry. Again, how Outbrain and Taboola are allowing promotion of financial services?
It depends on what you're doing, right? If you're selling scammy whatever, it doesn't matter where you run it, you're going to have issues with policy. If you're selling a legitimate product, there's not really any reason for it not to be allowed. So I think it really boils down to working with your account managers to build pages and content pages that are compliant. Remember that Taboola and Outbrain are just going to be mirroring the vibe of the publishers. So if you have CNN telling Outbrain, I don't want this, Outbrain's going to come tell you, hey, I don't want this, and we don't want this. And they'll build policies around the biggest publishers. So kind of go onto these big sites. I mean, normally, every country is a bit different. But in Germany, it's T-Online for Taboola, or Spiegel for Outbrain in the US, it would be things like MSN, Fox, CNN, that you can kind of look at and be like, okay, what's currently on these platforms and how do I build content that is that will be allowed, and then work with your AM. I mean, if you can build a compliant page for almost anything.
Yeah, and even the compliance team will help with giving suggestions like what's not okay and how to address it and things like that. So that's part of the normal business ongoing thing.
Working with people that want you to spend, right?
Yeah.
There's nobody at any traffic source. There's nobody in Lucid's team being like, nah, we don't want your money. Like, just keep it. Most of the time, they're going to try to enable you to kind of get something going, and then it's really up to you to fit your performance within the boundaries of what's allowed. And I can tell you from experience, it's not always easy. Native ads are not easy. You can't just throw up 2 words or two paragraphs onto a landing page and then run for a year. It's not how it works anymore. It has become very competitive, and you have people like myself and dozens of other people that have made this their full-time job, and you're competing against us in this space. So it's really important to realize you need to be creative. You need to invest the time into understanding how do I build a product, how to build a funnel that works. And what we've done very well, and what others in the space that I see succeed are doing as well, is really troubleshooting and investing time into every step of the funnel. So it's not just the ad, it's not just the content page, it's not just the site optimization, it's not just the payout, but it's what happens after, it's who you work with, the partners that you work with, and then building relationships and codependencies with companies that really allow you to scale.
We have a question regarding playing around with increase or decrease site bids. I like this question. What's your take on this?
I call myself a lazy marketer. So let's start there, right? There are a lot of people that will do this differently, but I hate spending time on things like micromanaging bids. It's one of the least favorite things I can do in my day. And at some point, as we grew, I just stopped having time for it. So I go very aggressive. I'll look at larger chunks of data and then make larger decisions. So I won't optimize plus or minus 5% or 10%. I'll go minus 20, 30, minus 50, 60, block, right, on Taboola. Like those will be the steps that I'll take. I'll also be relatively careful with bidding up. Most networks, Taboola as an example, they have the second price auction, which means that the algorithm will already bid up to 150% more than your base CPC to get a click. So you messing with especially increasing the bid oftentimes just leads to higher CPCs, but not necessarily a lot more traffic. I'd rather increase your base CPC to give your entire campaign more and more ability to spend, rather than honing in on the positive trends or trying to like boost one publisher 100%. It's counterproductive in my opinion in 99% of the cases. There'll always be a few times where I'm like, wow, I have to bid up here a lot because that's what data's telling me. But most of the time I like to really optimize to go downwards and then increase the CPC on a campaign level, or very aggressively on certain things that make sense. So you can build rules either, in a tool or manually, and say, okay, well, if I see this campaign doing well, I'm going to flag it or carve it out, bid it up. But most of the time, bidding is done downwards because you want to be making more money, not spending more. So that's how I see it. I do a lot of negative optimization rather than positive optimization.
Awesome.
That's a question.
Like that goes what you said goes a bit against the best practices of the traffic source, but we know that's
this is important to realize that we're managing really big budgets. Our average count is close to 7 figures in monthly spend on native, and we have a lot of data, so we'll be able to make decisions relatively quickly that we can be relatively sure of. If you're spending $500 a day in the US, it's going to be a lot harder for you to buy enough data to say, I'm going to bid down minus 50% with absolute certainty on this publisher, because you just don't have enough data. And there you need to be more careful. You need to be a little bit more tread a bit more lightly, because you don't want to be blocking sites that have the potential to make work. How much budget do you usually spend to test an offer? Lucid said it. Normally per element, it's like 3 to 5 times your CPA, 3 to 4 times your CPA. Typically, we like to cut quickly and then move on rather than labor to make something work. So if we upload, we'll always have 3 to 4 landing pages. We'll upload one campaign on mobile, on desktop, with a blacklist right now on Taboola. That's the way to go, not a whitelist. And you'll get a pulse on it. You'll spend a couple of $1,000s. Let's say 5 to 10,000 in the US is the minimum you need to make a decision, in my opinion, on whether a product works. In Europe, it's less. In Southeast Asia, way less. So you can base it on, I guess, a number of clicks, but we'll typically gather 20, 30, 40 times the CPA worth of data before we make a call. And sure, that's not enough to make a definitive call, but it'll give me an idea, is this worth the effort? If we're at minus 80%, probably not. But if we're at like 70, 80%, then we say, hey, you know what, we can optimize this, we can make money.
We have another interesting question. Yeah, like it's this one about Solars, and there is another one regarding dynamic payouts, which I think that has to do with the overall lead quality and then things like that. So let's go quickly over this first.
If you talk to big guys, like big spenders, none of them are at your standard payouts. That's because they need a competitive advantage to spend that much money. You don't have any affiliate on a standard payout spending $1 million a month on Taboola. Doesn't exist. It's always some sort of agreement that is they say, well, listen, we're going to send you a lot more volume, pay us more. Most of the time, this agreement is the product of a lot of labor and a lot of relationship building and a lot of work. I mean, we've been able to secure high CPL goals in part because we're able to squeeze out a lot more money per lead than others are. So we're able to spend 50 to 100 times more per lead because our lead quality is just 2 times better than what everybody else is sending. And that helps give you an edge because you can buy a lot more aggressively. On the front end, you can build content pages that filter the user a lot more aggressively for quality, and then build an entire funnel around where the quality of leads are coming from. Whereas others that focus purely on CPL will get cheap leads. They won't be worth anything for the lead buyers, and therefore they're not going to get a higher payout. You have, I mean, typically these $10 leads are very tough to make work on native right now in tier 1 countries. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not easy.
We have another question regarding a new feature of Taboola, like target CPA versus the normal smart bidding thing. Do you have any insights on that? Like, have you played around with it?
Automation is coming, whether we like it or not. I can tell you that Lustig, you mentioned this as well. The traffic sources are changing their algorithms relatively quickly. SmartBid sucked at the very beginning, but it became a really great tool that everybody switched on Taboola because it was really good. The second price auction worked. It helped you save money. It helped you spend money. Target CPA is in its infancy. It's not going to work for everybody. They just rolled out, I think, in beta, the max conversion. So you have it similar to Outbrain, where you can essentially set a budget and it'll spend the maximum amount of conversions that it can within this budget. But these are all tools that you should try in a limited capacity. Don't put your $10,000 a day campaign on target CPA. If it's working great, create a new one and test it, because chances are it won't work for you. It really depends on the product, the market, what you're selling, how you're selling it, what other people are competing with, what data points you're feeding Taboola. In theory, this is the future. Whether or not the tools are there yet is depends. I know people that are doing it in some cases, and I know people that aren't. I have media buyers that are doing it. Some media buyers aren't. On Outbrain, as an example, everything is automated. You don't have the flexibility that you do on Taboola, which is great when it works because, Jesus, I don't have to do anything, right? You set the campaign live and it'll spend money and it's profitable, and it really sucks when it doesn't because you're like, wow, how do I fix something when I don't have the control over micromanaging the campaign? So there's always this double-edged sword.
Yeah, sometimes you switch back to the semi-manual. To semi-manual with Outbrain, then you kind of start playing with stuff that you maybe forgot how to play with. Like, it's super labor intensive, but yeah, like I heard that I'm not sure. Like, don't take my words like for granted. I heard that Taboola is working a lot on improving their target CPA as of recently. Like, it was a few months ago, it wasn't at a decent stage. Like, even though it was rolled out, it was too early. But now I'm hearing stuff that they are making it they are making it much better, and also Outbrain's target CPA has been working great, or even target ROAS, and what's the other conversion optimization?
Max conversions, or whatever they're called. Yeah.
No, it's target ROAS, target TCPA, target CPA, and there's something else besides the max conversions, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, things are getting better. So let's let's keep it like this. Let's keep on pushing and things. I think we are running out of time already, so we are beyond
Yeah.
our schedule. Nadim, what's the best way to get in touch with you and to kind of
LinkedIn,
get
for
a hold
sure.
of you?
It's a busy time. I mean, we've created a new company 5 months and 3 days ago. So you can imagine we're growing. We have more open positions than we have people in our company. So there's just a lot of growth, a lot of things. Write me on LinkedIn. I'll do my best to respond to you. At the end of the day, my goal is to help native get out there, to help it attract the right type of advertisers, the right type of brands. And I think that we're seeing this transition slowly, where it's not just the run-of-the-mill, Nutra, whatever that they can make work, but we're seeing more and more companies with really solid products succeed on native. And Germany is a great example of that, where a large chunk, I would say, the vast majority of spend right now on native ads in Germany isn't perform like affiliate. It's performance, but it's not raw affiliate. It's brands with their in-house teams or with external agencies or marketers or even affiliates working for them to build out a product and a foundation of cold user acquisition. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time. We're going to see a lot of changes in the next couple of years in the native ad space. It's not something that you can just kind of lean in casually and succeed in unless you focus on smaller markets that are less developed, which you can do. There's a lot of people making a lot of money in Spain right now because it's just very undervalued compared to the click price that you're paying. But yeah, it's an exciting time to be a marketer in the native ad space.
Thank you very much, Nadim, and again, thanks. Like I can't thank you enough for being part of this presentation today. I hope everyone enjoyed what we shared today, and I'll make sure to share the presentations. Nadim, I can share yours, right? We have no issues to sharing it, a copy of the presentations. I will just compress it because it was something like 200 and
Like
something
200
megabytes.
yeah.
I don't think any mail provider would like to see that. So I'll try to compress it, send it out most probably today. I don't even have my watch on. I'm kind of going there. So all right. Thanks a lot, guys. Stay tuned. I'm gonna follow up with an email and send you even a link of the replay that you can kind of go back and forth and at your leisure, and then kind of fish into those sweet tips that Nadim shared today. And that's it. Like, thanks again. Looking forward to see you again to the next one. Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. Take care. Good luck.